This is the Volkswagen Arteon Shooting Brake version. The Arteon's been around on the road since 2018, but now for 2021 it's got a facelift, a bit of a midlife crisis if you will, and it's gained a bigger boot. Around the front though, it's still as gorgeous as ever. Those sweeping headlights with LEDs on the front and the creases on the bonnet and the 19-inch alloy wheels around the side. You can get it in 17-inch now, believe it or not, but I just think they would be so small compared to those gigantic wheel arches. You get overhangs on the bonnet. It's almost like a mistake when you look at it and you think, are they not joined properly? But it just creates this kind of stance of shoulder and strength, and you get chrome strips on the side. Even though it's an R-line trim, I'm not sure everyone will be keen on them. Maybe they should be black and high gloss. No doubt on the full fat R version of this car, which is coming, they will be. Puddle lights under here. You got blind spot on the inside, more chrome down here, and then this low sweeping shooting brake roofline comes down but doesn't cramp the headspace inside. In fact, this car has been compared in rear interior space to a far more expensive option by Mercedes. So we'll take a look at that in a few minutes. Now, shooting brake has a massive boot, so let's come check it out. La boot is 563 litres, over 1500, almost 1600 litres if you drop the rear seats. Electric tailgate, they're one of those things that if you get it once, you'll never want to go back. Leatherette cover, easy to use, and it actually can fit down here inside the car. Under here, there is no spare wheel, I'm afraid, so you're going to have to rely on foam and that stuff. But there's actually, because of that, there's extra stuff to hide stuff away. Little storage pockety thing here. They obviously lift out and then you can use them or not use them. The Skoda Octavian, the Skoda Superb, would definitely have more things to store and hook onto and things like that, but it's a very practical boot, made all the easier with that electric tailgate. Get a lovely Arteon badge which tells the world you're different. And under here, the 4 exhausts, well, they're not 4 exhausts, they're just blank plates, and no doubt the R version will have 4 exhausts, but the real exhaust is tucked away somewhere under there. But overall, good looking car. Not sure about you, but these wheels have certainly grown on me over the 3 or so years the car's been on sale, because in 19-inch they look right. The car can easily take 20s actually, according to Volkswagen. And the black and the alloy diamond cut combo, I really like it. They're called Cardiff wheels as far as I know as well. They've now started naming more wheels after places. So hello Cardiff, if you're watching. Not only gorgeous, massively practical. Like, the legroom in the back of this car is unbelievable. You've got frameless doors all around as well, which add to the looks. It is incredibly spacious in here. The room between you and that driver, even if you had to have that seat all the way back, it's not fully all the way back, but like you can stretch out, lie back. It's so comfortable. The roofline still isn't impacting you here. You've got a lovely big armrest if you're only like, okay, it's not an S-Class, but space-wise, I wouldn't say there's much in it. And like, when you just kick back and you've got stuff for either elbows, you've got nice quality stuff around you, all the pillars of the car, there's no paint colour exposed. It's just really impressive and luxurious feeling. And you'll probably go, is this a Volkswagen? Yeah. So back of it is, you're talking like Skoda Superb, easily room in here. No problem. Couple of things for your rear passengers. They can heat their backsides with a couple of heated options on either side. Isofix, of course, and they have their own independent climate control, because if it has to compete with an S-Class, it needs those things in the back also. It's just so roomy. You won't be able to get into the back of this and not be massively impressed by how much overall space it is. If this, well, look, it'll take 3 passengers, is a big hump in the floor, but if it is just a 4-person car, it's going to be absolutely glorious to travel around in. Biggest change for the Arteon is this angle, obviously being a shooting brake. You've got kind of spoiler lines, but still curves. It's so unusual looking. A line like a spoiler there, but then still curves over the back. It's so different looking. Plus a roof spoiler at the top. In here, it's all very VW. By that I mean, well, it's well put together. The modern twist on their steering wheels that you'll find across the range currently greets you. But that's then mixed with kind of VW of old, because you got a gear stick, a gear shifter for your DSG gearbox, and they don't really do that in their cars anymore. They're little nibs, as you may have seen in some of my other videos. The center console, some people are going to love this because, again, it's the older software, and that means that there's less reliance on screens for things like aircon. In fact, there's a dedicated aircon control unit down here, and you can just press that. I'm too hot.
Air conditioning functions cannot be operated by voice control.
So you will come into problems like that, because the newer version will let you control heated seats and aircon from that lovely lady. It's USB-C under here with a decent, well, an okay amount of storage room. Room for drinks down here. Little 12-volt charger. I'd much prefer just the standard USB input. Little slidey ashtray area. You would think, looking at it, it's somewhere that your phone can go, but it's, well, yeah, actually it can fit in there, but there's no charging plate. Again, you'd kind of expect there to be. Now the interior, the way it's stitched together, is absolutely beautiful. That will put it right up to any Audi or BMW you like at this price point. These lit up in whatever colour you'd like at night time, and they really look classy. And the stitching and everything, it feels great. The doors of the Arteon, that is some incredible thud. You would not want to get anything caught in that, but it feels reassuringly solid then when you're behind the wheel of this car. So it's unusual that it doesn't have the latest software, but this is a midlife cycle in a car. It's not actually a new model, I suppose. But maybe people will prefer the more easier to use, slightly more functional, slightly more button operated setup. And maybe if you don't like that little nibby thing, you'll love the fact that there's an actual DSG shifter. But enjoy that, because they're on the way out. The seats are Ergo Comfort seats, and they're so supportive. You've got lumbar, you can adjust. Oh, the bolsters on the side are lovely. It's a really gorgeous car to be behind the wheel of on a long journey. This new steering wheel, however, in the R line, doesn't have a heated steering wheel option, even though that same steering wheel in so many other models has it. What's that about? All your screen here is wide and also in colour. You can swap with your maps. You can have them here in the virtual display. If you don't want them there, you can't have them both in this particular car, but there is still a bit of customizing that you can do with your displays. The door pockets are lined within an inch of their life of carpet, which means nothing rattles around. And that's another area that sometimes models are being cut back in that space, but not in the Arteon. So if you've a Nobby on Cars chili bottle, if you'd like to support the channel, you can pop it into one of them, and it's not going to rattle around one single bit. So to look at on the inside, to look on the outside, it's just an absolutely gorgeous looking car. There are some quirks like the heated steering wheel that isn't there, the older DSG gear shifter, and the fact that even though there's LED lights in the front, the indicators are halogen. I suppose when you think about it, a 2-litre diesel engine with 148, let's call it 150 brake horsepower, it doesn't really match up the looks of the car and how you might expect it to perform. But don't worry about that, because Volkswagen have an R version with 316 brake horsepower from a 2-litre petrol coming soon, and these are very much crossed to have it on the channel. There are some petrol options you can get. There's the 190 brake horsepower 2-litre diesel engine also, but that really does push up the cost. And I think if it's going to be a motorway cruiser for you with some need to overtake, then it really will be okay. Seriously. Travel assist radar guided cruise control. They're all comforts that you get on the car, which make that driving on motorways just that bit easier. Now, if you're using the travel assist and you're in a straight line, you'll actually have to keep making minor adjustments to the steering wheel, otherwise, with your hands on it, by the way, because you'll still get beeps from the car telling you to take over the steering, yet your hands are on the wheel. That was something I found driving it on the M1 during the week. Yeah, under load, it's a little bit diesel-y. It would obviously sound sweeter in a petrol, but probably only just, because it's still going to be a 4-cylinder engine. Your visibility out of all these windows and surroundings is absolutely perfect. And whether it's the center of gravity, lower down stance of the car, whatever it is, it handles quite well. There's no significant roll or anything as you're going around bends. But equally, I don't know if this car is set up to be driven that way anyway. It's a real long distance cruiser. Anytime I've sat on a motorway in it this week, I've thought this would be an amazing car for any sort of a road trip, because it just does all that kind of stuff really, really well. And those driving aids that I've mentioned, they just make the job a bit easier again. If you do get an opportunity then to put the boot down, so to speak, it's not blisteringly quick by any stretch, but equally, as I've just been saying, bends in the car, it's very, very capable there. A little bit floaty perhaps, but more than up to the job, I feel. It is nicely insulated from the outside world, I'll say that. When you're driving along, passing other cars, that's when you really appreciate it. Long distance cruising, this thing is going to get into 4 litres per 100 kilometers. That's pretty good. Like, you can't argue with that fuel economy for 1 second. If you're driving around the more stop-start environments, in which case, really, you shouldn't be buying a diesel. It'll be 7-8 litres per 100 kilometers. But certainly, when I saw it cruising at about 110 on a motorway, doing 4.5 litres per 100 kilometers, I was like, wow, that's good. When I collected the car, the full range in the tank was over 1,200 kilometers. And it's just funny noticing these things, having been driving an electric car so much over the last little while. I know somebody who had one of these, not the Shooting Brake obviously, for 3 years as part of a lease, and they're a sales rep traveling all over Ireland, and that car is now being replaced by an ID4. But the temptation was very much strong, even though the ID4 is going to benefit from the BIK setup. The Arteon wasn't. That financial repayment every month, despite that, the person I know was still considering going again in an Arteon. And I think if you have someone who lived with a car for 3 years and really spent a lot of time in it, and if there wasn't an ID4 electric option, let's remove that from the equation, they would have gone for this car again. I think that speaks volumes. If you are going for the automatic version, it's a 7-speed DSG gearbox, really quick gear changes. I don't see why you'd be going manual in one of these. I really don't. And I'd probably get the glass sunroof just to break up the light on the interior. So why would you buy one over an Audi A6 or maybe a 4 Grand Coupe or even a 5 Series? For lots of people, you wouldn't. For some people, at least, there's now another option. You get quite a fair bit of stuff in this car for that money that you're going to have to tick an option box for on many of the others. Things like blind spot, radar guided cruise control, upgraded seats, upgraded wheels, all those things, you'll have to pay extra for them, and you're kind of getting them in a full-on pack if you go for the R-Line version of this car. To some, that premium badge missing, although I'd argue if you actually sit in one of these, it does feel premium and absolutely looks premium. When you factor it all in though, the looks, reasonable performance, like it's adequate, really good fuel economy, the room in the back, the room in the boot in this particular shooting brake version of the car, it has an awful lot going for it. For whatever reason, it's not a car that's on the radar of the Irish public as much as the others, because, you know, just think about how many Arteons you see on a daily basis. You don't. But for many, that's going to be the appeal if you are interested in one of these, because it's rare. It's not something you see 10 of them in the car park in Duns. So thank you for watching this review of the all-new Arteon Shooting Brake. If you have any comments or questions, you know what to do. Leave them down below, please. And if you've owned a car like this, even in the 2-litre TDI and other cars, you can perhaps leave your experiences below as well. If you want to support the channel, there's Patreon links, PayPal links. Buy yourself an Arteon Cars chili bottle, all there. Whatever you can do, it's much appreciated. It is a fully independent YouTube channel, and the editing, that can take a while. Appreciate you watching this one today, and I'll see you very soon.